Let me just tell you all something though. Listen, here's the thing. Now, you know how I've told you all, and we've all noticed that whenever Warren specifically has talked about Nolan, he's never seemed like he was sad, or anything. And I'm not saying that he wasn't sad. I'm just saying that he never seemed like it. So let's talk about that. What type of personality traits could lose their friend, someone they really care about, and not have any sort of emotions or not seem to or appear to be grieving or whatever? Okay, let's talk about it. One of the most disturbing things about certain crimes isn't only the act itself, it's what happens afterward. And I'm not saying anyone committed a crime, I'm just telling you about crimes. Sometimes a person accused or even ultimately proven to have committed a terrible act can appear to simply go on about their everyday life. They may eat, laugh, socialize, sleep, party, post to social media, or carry on conversations while seemingly displaying little concern for the person who was harmed. That behavior naturally makes people ask the question, how could someone do something terrible and then act like nothing happened? There isn't one personality type that explains it, and outward behavior alone cannot tell us whether someone committed a crime. But people also respond very differently to trauma, fear, grief, and stressful situations. But psychology does recognize several traits and processes that can help explain an apparent absence of remorse. So let's talk about it. Callousness and lack of empathy. Now, one possibility is callousness. Okay, someone could just be a callous person, an unusually low emotional response to another person's suffering. That's what that means. Empathy involves recognizing and to some degree emotionally responding to what another person is experiencing. A highly callous individual may understand intellectually that another person is frightened, grieving, or suffering without experiencing much emotional discomfort themselves. That distinction is very important. Someone can understand another person's emotions without necessarily sharing the same emotions. That's a person who is, who has a lack of empathy. Now, antisocial personality traits. Now, I'm just telling you different types of personalities that may act this way, showing little to no emotion or not seemingly to have empathy or remorse, mind you. Persistent disregard for other people's rights, repeated deceitfulness, irresponsibility, aggression, exploitation, and the lack of remorse can be associated with antisocial personality traits. Now, in clinical settings, a long-standing and pervasive pattern may sometimes meet the criteria for antisocial personality disorder. But that diagnosis requires much more than observing someone's behavior after one event. It cannot responsibly be assigned to someone just from looking at photographs, videos, interviews, or social media posts. Psychiatric traits. Let's talk about it. Now, I'm sorry, psychopathic traits. Now, let's talk about it. People often use the word psychopath casually, but psychology treats the concept much more carefully. Psychopathic traits can include shallow emotions, lack of empathy, lack of guilt, someone being manipulative, deceitfulness, superficial charm, and callousness. Some individuals with strong psychopathic traits can even remain remarkably calm after doing something that would cause tremendous emotional distress in most people. But psychopathy and criminality are not synonymous. Not everyone with psychopathic traits commits violent crimes, and appearing unemotional does not simply make someone a psychopath, but that is a trait of a psychopath. Okay, so please pay attention. But here's why I think that possibly Warren acts this way. Narcissistic traits. Extreme self-centeredness can also influence someone's reaction. Okay, and a person with strong narcissistic traits may focus primarily on questions such as, what is going to happen to me? How will this affect my reputation? Will people believe my explanation? Am I going to get caught? See, I think those are likely some of the questions that are going through Warren's mind right now, even as I speak. Okay, in that situation, the person's distress may center more on the consequences for themselves than on the suffering experienced by someone else. And that's exactly why I think, like I told you all just yesterday, I think that basically Warren was trying to get ahead of some of the things that people are saying out here on social media land. Okay, some of the things that he's read in the comments about himself. That's why he kept repeating himself. I'm glad I called the Coast Guard. I'm glad I reached out to Miss Christine first. I'm glad I did this. He was patting himself on the back and he wanted us to give him credit for what he was doing. Okay, he wanted us to see that, look, I'm not a bad person. I was the one that called her out of concern for her son. I was the one that called the Coast Guard to try to get help for Nolan. That's how he wants us to look at that, not to be looking at him with the whole side eye. But maybe we would have been giving him that sort of attention had he done the same thing Javon did after the incident. Posted something nice on social media, said something nice, reached out to the family. But instead, all the things they did, the actions they took, made everyone look at them with the eye of suspicion. And that's just what it is. Okay, Butterfly Rose says, I suggest that we all post Teddy Pendergrass's song, You Can't Hide From Yourself, with the caption, Justice for Nolan Wells. That's a good idea, beloved. Okay, and a cute one. Thank you for that, and thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, some people compartmentalize things. Okay, there's another possibility that doesn't necessarily involve a personality disorder at all, and that's compartmentalization. Human beings can sometimes mentally separate disturbing events from ordinary life. Someone may place an upsetting experience in a psychological box and temporarily function as though everything seems to be normal. Now, that can happen after committing a wrongdoing, but it can also happen to completely innocent people who are dealing with trauma, shock, grief, or fear. And then there's rationalization and moral disengagement. People can also convince themselves that what they did wasn't really wrong. We did nothing wrong. Isn't that what they said? We did nothing wrong. That's what Warren specifically said. And maybe he didn't do anything wrong to him, or maybe he didn't do anything wrong at all. Who knows? We're still trying to figure it all out. They might tell themselves, I had no choice. They brought it on themselves. It wasn't supposed to happen. It's not my responsibility. Someone else caused this. Now, psychologists sometimes describe related processes as moral disengagement. Instead of experiencing the full moral weight of an action, a person creates explanations that allow them to distance themselves from responsibility. And once someone has successfully justified something in their own mind, their outward behavior can appear remarkably normal. Okay, please pay attention. But the most important caution is this. This is where we have to be especially careful when discussing a real case. Okay? That's what we have to do, because keep in mind, there's no universal way that an innocent person, a guilty person, a grieving friend, witness, or a traumatized individual is supposed to behave. And so that's why we have to choose our words carefully and not directly accuse any of them of doing anything, because maybe none of them did a darn thing. They just made themselves look guilty as hell from the actions that they chose to engage in. And I do believe that those actions were spearheaded by none other than Judge Ashley Cole. That's just what I think. I think that she gave them marching orders, and those orders that she may have given them, if in fact she did, and I'm not saying she did, I'm just saying that I have questions as to who told them to take these actions, and seeing as how she's the one who initially came out making statements that I deem as damage control, it seems to me that maybe she was the one that spearheaded the whole thing, having people deactivate social media, lawyer up and all of that, and then stay quiet as mice. Okay, and so that just wasn't a good look for most people. Most people didn't think that was the right thing to do, and felt as though, you're not looking as though you're really trying to help the situation, as one would think that friends, good friends, would have done for their fallen comrade, is all I'm saying. So, it is what it is. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, let's go to this next clip. Let's go to this next clip, because this man had a whole lot to say about Nancy Grace. Remember that guy that said he was going to sue everybody? Yeah, he was talking trash about Nancy Grace and he's adding her to the list. I just happened to see this
Now the
morning.
governor of Mississippi is mad. He's talking about he want Al Sharpton and Ben Crump out of his state. Talking about he gonna kick them out if they don't stop talking about Nolan Wells.
Well, Nancy Grace, I'm going to let you know personally that I'm adding you as a defendant on my civil rights violation complaint, along with Sharpton and Crumb. And yeah, I sure am. And you know, you want to get on here with your celebrity status. You want to get on the world stage, act like a fool, drum up violence and chaos and stuff like that for our wonderful little town. And I tell you what, better hope and pray nobody gets hurt because of your rhetoric and your bullshit propaganda, because you'll be going to jail. I don't care if you used to be a prosecutor. Lots of people used to be fry cooks. You ain't shit now, and you weren't a good prosecutor then, probably. So, yeah, see you there.
Well. It looks like the residents of Mississippi are having a hard time. Now, hear me well and hear me good. There's something in the air of Mississippi that is making the residents of Mississippi to have sleepless nights, including their governor. You want to tell me residents have started coming out and they are warning Al Sharpton and Nancy Grace for fueling something that allegedly did not happen? Oh, y'all Nancy Grace and Al Sharpton, y'all making our town be peaceless. Oh my God. No. We need to rephrase that. The people that are making your town restless is them boys that were on the boat. Clear cut, period. If you can give them to us, if you can hand them over to the police station, if you can hand them over to the law, then Mississippi will have peace. Because baby, I'm not telling you, if Nolan Wells, where he is at, he is not having a meal, then they should not have a meal. And
Okay, D Major said he loves her accent. Yeah, I do too. Okay, now likes up, everyone. Please like and share. With that all being said, he had a whole lot to say, and he's talking about filing lawsuits. He's not going to get anywhere. Only thing he's going to do is waste his money. Okay, suing people for what? Speaking their opinions and views. Now here's somebody going in on rage bait him again.
On that phone call to Cito.
Well, I'm glad that you asked, Officer Tatum. My thoughts are is that Cito call revealed a lot of BS. You mean to tell me I didn't hear? Oh my God! Damn it, Bart! Wake the fuck up, Nolan! You know what else my thoughts are? That if they were anybody else, sons of poor people, not the sons of judges and doctors, whether they were white or black, but especially if they were black, they would have already been arrested for frivolous petty charges. Underage drinking, operating a boat while intoxicated. They would have came up with something. That way none of them had time to get together and corroborate their stories. They would have all been investigated independently, interrogated independently. Cops would have said, well, you might as well talk because the other one's snitching. The other one's already throwing you under the bus, so you might as well come forward and get the deal first. They would have threatened them with this gang of time while they're in their jail blues, eating peanut butter and bologna sandwiches out of a brown paper bag, thinking they're never going to get out. Instead, they're on a speaking tour. Who are they trying to convince? Themselves? Save that shit for the judge. Oh, wait, the judge is the mom. The presumption of innocence. This is like the guarantee of innocence for them. First, you say Nolan stays back with a girl. So if he stays back with a girl, then why did he not have his phone? Oh, well, they put the phones up so they don't get wet. But Nolan knew he wasn't going back on that boat. So you mean to tell me that he was staying stranded on an island off the coast of Mississippi with no phone, no communication, with no guarantee ride back? If you believe this, I have swampland for sale. And then what happened to that girl that he stayed back on the island with? He just happened to go for a swim and then accidentally drowned and nobody saw it? Not even the girl that he allegedly stayed back on the island with? So he stayed back on the island with the girl, but didn't bring a phone with him, stranded, then went for a swim and just happened to drown. Oceanfront property in Arizona. Before this blew up publicly, why would Bart say that he was out of town, responding to a comment of someone else who questioned this very early on in the game before it went global? But you shut down your social media accounts. Is that comment that's floating around really Bart's? We have questions. How come a month later we still don't have answers? How come the independent autopsy did not have the same damn questions we've always had? It's not like these kids were celebrities. Nobody just had their voices laying around or accesses to their voices to make an AI version of it. Then they claim that the CETO and the Coast Guard call proves their innocence. Why would they do that? As a cover-up? Because why would you call the Coast Guard if you thought that your friend stayed back with a girl? One question, okay, but question after question after question that raises suspicion. Please prove me wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, I absolutely agree with everything that he said. Okay, make it make sense.